Now, Chernobylite isn't a brand new game, but this enhanced next-gen edition for the PS5 was my first experience with the title. Originally released about a year ago in 2021, Chernobylite is a strange and creepy first-person shooter that takes place in an alternate history Chernobyl, where the explosion at the nuclear reactor caused a powerful, unearthly substance to spread across the land, plaguing the area with supernatural events and unearthly creatures. While most of my gameplay experience in this new edition was pretty smooth, there was a major issue with my review copy that I'll be addressing toward the end that's extremely important to hear before spending your money on this game. First off, let's go right into it and talk about the gameplay. What kind of experience can you expect going into Chernobylite? While the game has very open environments, the gameplay is actually split into a mission-based approach. This system is more than just a mission select screen though, and I'll go further into depth about that in a moment.
Лена, твой муж ведь на электростанции работает? Нет, просто у меня в последнее время какие-то странные сны. Наверное, устала.
So, for those who don't know much about the game, the warehouse you teleport to after the prologue acts as your base of operations throughout the story. From here, you can access mission assignments, you can talk to your crew, and you can use resources gathered from each expedition to build a wide assortment of tools and furniture for your base. This building system reminds me a lot of the base building in Fallout 4, placing a mix of useful machinery and decorations to both balance the living conditions of your crew and give you the ability to craft and upgrade equipment to take on to future missions. While the system is pretty basic compared to games that use a similar mechanic, I really enjoyed being able to customize my base, and the progression toward more advanced technology had the right amount of pacing to ensure that I didn't get too overpowered early on or frustrated with a lack of progress further in. However, while I did enjoy building up my base, it still felt lifeless no matter how much I added to it, since the characters living there don't feel like they're really living there, instead always just standing in the same few positions, just waiting for you to talk to them. Now, admittedly, it's a small detail, but it takes so much enjoyment out of building spaces for people when they don't even acknowledge those spaces, aside from the point values they give.
Это место раньше было совсем другим. Оно как змея, которая раз за разом сбрасывает кожу. Тебе придется снова изучить его, прочувствовать, подчинить.
Now, about those missions. The game's world is separated into several large chunks, each one hosting either a timed resource event or an important story event. Every in-game day, you can select one of these missions to do yourself, but you can also recruit and assign other people to do the remaining missions. This entire section of the game is basically a simplified base management game, without microtransactions or real-world time constraints. Sending characters off to gather resources for my base was always quick and easy since it's done from the mission select screen, keeping it simple to get back into the field for the real moment-to-moment gameplay. The system is pretty basic overall, but I feel this actually makes it better, letting the player quickly manage their characters and resources before getting right back into the action every day.
Тебе никогда ее не найти. Уходи отсюда.
My experience with the actual mission gameplay continued to give me a positive impression, especially in the opening hours when everything was fresh and new. Chernobylite's use of the environment for events and side objectives unrelated to the task at hand never felt like a chore or padding for the level, even if hardly anything came out of stumbling into one of them. Thanks to the variety of encounters, you can find anything from a helpful merchant to a possessed talking doll if you take the time to explore the markers. While the gameplay itself is more of a stealth action kind of thing, these encounters wrapped my experience in a creepy and unsettling bow that enhanced my immersion in the world and story. I often didn't even care if these events gave me a reward, I just wanted to see what weird things it would throw at me next. On top of this, the game is structured with your decisions at the forefront of the experience. Certain choices can build or destroy relationships with characters, cause them to join or leave your team, and even affect what future encounters and missions are going to be like. Aside from this, however, Most of the gameplay overall is just a loop of gathering resources, completing missions, upgrading, and repeating. So the recipe for boredom and repetition is definitely there if the story and side objectives aren't holding your attention. For me personally, I never felt bored throughout the playthrough, and found myself wandering around areas for long periods of time just to uncover the secrets they held, and to hoard the resources. As a quick aside, I really love the portal gun mechanic in this game, which essentially lets you teleport out of a mission whenever you want, letting you leave early if you're afraid of dying, or conversely, staying as long as you want after the mission is completed. As for the combat, the game thankfully avoids the recent trend of bullet sponge enemies for artificial difficulty, as far as I could tell. But just like the overall atmosphere of the world, combat is tense and dangerous. Sure, enemies are easy to kill with bullets, but so are you. The game mainly focuses on a more stealthy approach to dealing with enemies, as direct combat can be detrimental to you if you don't have the resources to keep your health in check. Of course, it's also completely possible to avoid enemies altogether if you're stealthy enough, and the help of certain perks taught by your crew can make it even easier later on. A glaring issue with this, however, is the game's somewhat clunky approach to stealth. Stealth kills drain your sanity until you get a perk to fix it, but even then, the sneak kill animations are too long and easily detected if there are other enemies around, making it difficult and often stupid to attempt stealth in larger groups of enemies. The game of course does reward you for taking out these enemies, so it's always a question of whether you want to risk starting that fight. Aside from the people with guns patrolling the areas, the world will actually start to become infested with otherworldly creatures that prove to be a greater challenge in most circumstances. While there isn't a ton of variety with these monsters, each encounter still feels intense due to the unique ways they move and try to attack you. This fear of the unknown is made even worse when coupled with the PS5's DualShock controller, which pulses and reacts to the creatures lurking in the dark just out of view. My first time going into a tall apartment complex infested with glitching and teleporting shadows was extremely memorable because of this attention to atmosphere and immersion. While we're on this topic, let's talk about the other enhancements for the next-gen edition of the game.
Последний файл в колонке называется Sweet Lonely Boy Will Meet Sugar Mom. Крутое имя, скажи.
This next-gen edition of the game includes the choice between a visual and performance graphics profile, ray tracing, faster loading times than the original version, and the aforementioned DualShock controller support for PS5 users, which features advanced vibrations and optional adaptive trigger functionality. It's also worth mentioning that this is a free upgrade no matter what platform you own the original on, so you don't have to make another purchase if you bought the game before now. Speaking of these graphic enhancements, Chernobylite is a visually stunning game for the price tag. The world is lovely and diverse, opting for a mixture of beauty and disaster in its environmental design, akin to that of The Last of Us. The game actually uses scans of the area in real life to construct these environments, which is pretty cool. Aside from the visuals, the voice acting and writing in this game are also high quality. I did have the language set to the default of Russian, which I can't speak, but I could still feel all of the characters' quirks and emotions through their voice acting. On top of that, all of the characters had just the right amount of weirdness and comedy to keep me interested in the conversations, rather than falling into the trap of everyone being boringly serious just because that's the overall tone of the plot.
Эй, ты! Господи боже! Как ты меня напугал! Не смей больше так делать, когда я работаю! А лучше вообще никогда так не делай!
Now, let's get into the story itself. Well, I sadly don't have a lot to go off of here because of that major issue I mentioned in the beginning. Now, I made about 10 hours of progress through the game's story when my entire game crashed due to what seemed to be a bug in the game's saving system. After reloading the game, I came back to find an error message that all of my data was corrupted and deleted. On top of that, the game automatically synced this blank save file to the cloud before I could recover it, leaving me with a game that essentially acts as if I've never touched it before. What I did gather from the story so far was all positive, however, and I still had plenty of exposure to the story's events to tell you this. Chernobylite's story is, of course, one of its biggest aspects, along with one of its strongest from what I've experienced. The game presents several mysteries and strange occurrences right off the bat, bringing the weird up to 11 right away before cooling down and then slowly building back up over the course of your adventure. Voices in your head, a missing spouse, a nuclear wasteland filled with supernatural events and monsters, all ingredients for an intriguing plot that'll keep you hooked to the end, or at least to when the game decides to erase all of your data. Now, aside from this literally save-breaking bug, I did encounter other minor issues and gripes as I progressed that are worth their own little section here. One of the first things I noticed is the slightly awkward animations of the NPCs, where in some cases they're fine, but in others they completely forget how legs work. There's also a lack of depth in terms of what weapons and armor you have at your disposal. Since there's only one type of each weapon, and there aren't a whole lot of different types, all of your weapon diversity comes from the attachments you equip using workbenches. The biggest annoyance I had, though, most likely had to do with the problem that corrupted my save. See, the game autosaves a lot, which wouldn't be a problem under normal circumstances. In my playthrough, however, these autosaves started to freeze my game for just a few frames at a time after a while. But as I continued to progress, these autosave freezes slowly grew longer and longer, even taking up to multiple seconds for what shouldn't be interrupting gameplay at all under normal circumstances. This issue built up more and more over time, until one final autosave killed my save file altogether, bringing every manual and autosave along with it. I don't know how common of a problem this will be for other players, but it's worth noting that this was a fairly common issue when the game initially launched last year as well. I do plan on releasing an updated version of this review when I can make up for all this lost time, but I felt that this was important to get out now so people are aware before buying. I'm still waiting for the team to see if my data can be recovered in any way, and they have been very considerate in helping me with the issue, so we'll see whether I have to start fresh and risk it happening again, just so that I can finish this review. While I am of course upset that this has happened, I'm not going to slam on the rest of the game for it, because until this point, I was genuinely having fun with the title. To summarize my feelings toward this game, I felt that the experience was definitely worth it, especially since it doesn't carry the weight of a full AAA price tag. But that wonderful and pleasantly weird experience comes with some baggage in the form of lackluster AI programming, a somewhat repetitive gameplay loop, awkward stealth mechanics, and some major saving issues. Whether I can recover my save or not, I'm definitely going to be trying again very soon to experience the rest of what Chernobylite has to offer. Hey everyone! Thanks for watching today's review. What did you think about the game, and have you been experiencing the same issues? Let me know down in the comments. Please like the video if it was helpful, and subscribe to my channel for more gaming content. It's the only way I can fight in this never-ending struggle against the YouTube algorithm. If you want to talk to me or see what I'm up to, you can check out my Twitter page at @misspelledmoos, or follow my Twitch channel of the same name, where I play all kinds of games and give you sneak peeks into future videos. You could even be a part of them. If you want to support my work directly, I do also have a Patreon. It's just $1 a month to support me, and your name will be featured in every video. All of these links can be found in the description below. Anyways, thank you for staying all the way to the end somehow. You're either really persistent, you love the sound of my voice, or your controller turned itself off to save battery and you've been scrambling to try to get it back on. Either way, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.